And a very good morning to you. It is 7 a.m., Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. Welcome to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. We will take your calls at 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. If you liked yesterday, rinse, repeat. Let's do another one. Sunshine today, highs in the mid 70s. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with a first check of the Garden State forecast. Just so you know, Mike, I went to Amazon yesterday, the
Okay.
Amazon, to buy another thing of Gold Star stickers, and
Oh,
they're starting to run low. So I
uh-oh.
ordered two, and I ordered it on Prime. So hopefully it'll come by like Thursday at the latest. And so because I got to give you like three Gold Stars today. Just
Well,
saying.
thank you, thank you. Luckily, there are free returns with Amazon because by the time you see when
Yes.
tomorrow's forecast, those
Oh.
gold stars are going to be ripped right off the wall. But you're right. We have another beautiful day today. Today, look forward. We're all about the 10, 5-star sort of quality that's in the air, and then we get to tomorrow, and it's not so great. But lots of sun today. Beautiful, pretty start. Beautiful sky outside, and chilly, cool, pleasant, and dry. 45 degrees right now up in Sussex, even toward Morristown, 45 for you. Much warmer by the beaches thanks to that wind coming off of the water, holding in the mid 60s at the moment, but it will feel very pleasant through this afternoon with the dry weather persisting. We are pretty much the same temperature as of yesterday, a little bit cooler down toward Ship Bottom and Atlantic City, but beyond that, it'll stay pleasantly cool and dry with the dew points nice and low in the 40s. Now, you see all the clouds that are just out to sea. That's where they stay for now. Notice some start to come back in the picture as we loop closer to 7 a.m. But I think by the time we get to tomorrow, there'll be even more clouds that arrive and give us even the chance of some rain by the end of the day. The winds today start to pick up down the shore, kind of a noticing that the winds have changed or bringing in a bit of a different forecast. And by tomorrow morning, we'll be gusting up to 33 miles per hour. It's gale force down the shore, even toward Atlantic City and over in Longbrand. So coastal locations get slammed with some gusty winds tomorrow, and with it, a little bit of light rain and even some clouds. You can see it here with the future cast. We'll finish out the rest of the day with mostly sunny skies. Temperatures climb into the low 70s. Just absolutely beautiful. By this evening, right around sunset, and because the clouds are coming in from the east and the sun sets in the west, we get that beautiful pink sky as the sun rays kind of filter in some of that pretty and reflect off of the base of the cloud. So look for that later on this evening. Pretty sunset in the forecast. But the clouds take over later on tonight and give us a gray sky to start tomorrow. With it, some light rain getting going early on in the morning. So you see some shades of green, some of the embedded shades of yellow. There'll be some showers around through most of the day with that northeasterly breeze, keeping it cool. We're only in the 60s tomorrow, so it'll be a raw feeling day, and then we're right back to the clear sky by Thursday. So Thursday clears out, back in the 80s, a little more humidity, and feeling quite pleasant. The rest of the week, from Thursday into Friday, keeps our temperatures warm. We stay sunny on Friday, just a few passing clouds, but overall, starting off in the 50s, climbing back into the upper 70s and low 80s by the afternoon Friday. It looks to be a pretty decent start to the weekend. At least we keep it that way to start off. The next few days, keeping our temperatures cool for today and tomorrow. And then Thursday sees a big jump as we get up to 80. Friday, still pretty mild with sunshine back. We'll tell you about that weekend forecast coming up, Ken, with your 7-day weather. That's in a few minutes.
Awesome, sir. We will be checking in with that. Appreciate it. It is now 49 degrees. This is, by the way, it is 49.4. 24 hours ago to the second, today, right now, it was 49.4. So it is a repeat of yesterday for sure, but as you heard Mike say, tomorrow not so much. Okay. In terms of traffic, we do have other stuff that is not a repeat of yesterday. Disabled vehicle right now, Route 29 southbound north of 295 in Hamilton Township. The right shoulder is closed. As you're headed toward the city, toward the Lincoln Tunnel right now, we have a disabled vehicle on 495, the Helix eastbound, east of Kennedy Boulevard in Union City. So just as, a lot of people try to get off in Union City and take the local roads to the Lincoln Tunnel, that might actually be your better bet this morning. Some mornings I question, does that save you any time? Today it will, because on 495, we still have that disabled vehicle again, eastbound, just east of Kennedy Boulevard in Union City. So kind of pick your poison. See if it's better to go one way or the other. Either way, you're probably going to be about the same. We have a crash on Route 42 northbound south of exit 14, which is Creek Road in Belmar, Bellmawr, not Belmore. I always have to emphasize. So this is the one, pardon me, closer to South Jersey. 2 left lanes of the 4 lanes closed, and we have a disabled vehicle on the Garden State southbound by the Barnegat Tolls in beautiful Barnegat Township. The toll lane is currently blocked, so that's a problem. Also delays on the Garden State southbound from 149 to 143. That's a good 7 miles, 6 to 7 miles, even though all lanes are open. Not a crash, it's just volume. 7 miles of volume on the Garden State Parkway. Again, from where, Ken? From 149 down to like 142, that area. Bumper to bumper traffic. Just beware. Give yourselves extra travel time, if you will. Take a look at the Hudson River crossings right now. We look at the GWB approach, upper and lower levels. Stopped. Yep, we knew this back. Oh, it's the first 1 to 2 weeks back to school. Yeah, all the people breaking the law there going down that shoulder. Where are the cops? You could be making a fortune right now pulling these people over. That is dangerous, folks. I don't care how much of a rush you're in. Don't do it. Somebody could genuinely be broken down. You're going to smash right into them. And then somebody's going to try to sneak into the lane and you're going to hit right into it. It's just not worth it. I've watched accidents happen because of that. We've seen it on camera. That jump, by the way, was not videotaped. That was just an internet glitch. So that is a live picture you're looking at. No, Pam, our director, I didn't do that. No, that's just an internet glitch. Yeah, there's another one. So please don't do that. Don't do that. It is illegal and you can get a hell of a fine. So this is about 35 to 40 minutes inbound. They're saying, I think it's longer than that, but that's what we're being told. Lincoln and Holland are both at 20. Those are your better bets. 7:06 is our time right now. A mysterious boom rattled northern New Jersey Sunday night. It was the second unexplained explosion-like sound in less than a week. Pequannock police received multiple calls, but they couldn't pinpoint the source, with the noise heard as far away as West Milford. Authorities, including Picatinny Arsenal, ruled out military activity. They said, don't look at us. No meteor sightings were reported. Last week's similar incident in Hopatcong also remains unsolved, leaving residents and officials puzzled as investigations continue with no clear answers. They'll figure it out. It is 7:07. The Port Reading Fire Department responded to a boat fire with possible people on board. Marine 5 alongside FDNY Marine 8 and the FDNY Marine Battalion quickly got that fire out. Thankfully, any of the people on the boat were safe on another boat. Thankfully, that's the way it works on the Marine, the high seas. Everybody comes to help. Usually, if they're around. Port Reading and Carteret fireboats also assisted as part of the New Jersey Regional Fireboat Task Force. No injuries were reported. Ocean County now. 6 individuals are facing charges after a big drug bust there. Authorities seized 121 pounds of marijuana, 100 pounds of THC product, 75 pounds of cannabis concentrate, 7 sheets of LSD, that ain't allowed, 2 pounds of methamphetamine, think Breaking Bad, 20 pounds of psilocybin mushrooms. Yeah, those are the funky psychedelic mushrooms. 6 ounces of MDMA, 40 grams of coke, and $140,000 in cash. Think there was a theme here from a Manchester Township residence. So they were basically it appears, can't say for sure, it appears they were basically a drug supermarket. The suspects were charged with various counts of possession with intent to distribute and conspiracy. No, officer, the 121 pounds of marijuana was just for a little smoke tonight. All were released under New Jersey's bail reform. See, this is what the Democrats get you. So people are dropping dead from drug ODs. The drug dealings go on like crazy all over the place. We say over and over again, Democrats say, Trump's got to do something about this. And what do we have? New Jersey's stupid bail reform. Bail reform. This is ostensibly so that we don't take minorities, which, by the way, by thinking that it's only minorities that get arrested, you're a racist, because clearly people other than minorities get arrested. Okay? Bail reform is bull crap. So New Jersey's bail reform. Here we have a house that is clearly a Costco, and I don't mean to drag in the name Costco. Please, the people at Costco, I apologize. I'm not trying to drag your name into it. I'm trying to say it's a superstore. You have a superstore of drug paraphernalia and dealings. You have 121 pounds of pot. You have methamphetamines, cocaine, THC, shrooms, everything. Basically a come on in and get what you'd like sign. This is like a Pennsylvania fireworks store on the 3rd of July. And we have bail reform. Are you stupid? Really? These people have money. They have hundreds of thousands, not in the bank, in cash money. You think they're not going to take a hike? You're an idiot. You're an idiot. One person is awaiting a court appearance. Everybody else in the residence, bail reform. You're morons. You know what? If you are in New Jersey right now, which most people watching this show are, and you vote Democrat over and over again, you deserve what you get. Maybe a drug dealer should drive up on your house and shoot up your neighborhood, not hoping anyone gets shot. I'm just saying so that you wake up hearing gunshots and you're terrified and you realize this is the result of voting Democrat. The problem is people do not understand the idea that voting Democrat has its penalties. You keep voting Democrat, the result is going to be an increase in crime. The problem is you do a stupid thing like that, and the rest of us have to suffer because of your idiocy. Stop voting Democrat. It's as simple as that. Bail reform, my backside. 7-Eleven, a New Jersey appeals. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. I'm riled up on this. I know Mike and our director, Pam, are probably saying, shut up, Ken, move on. No, Mike wouldn't say that. Mike's a nice man. Pam is too. Nice woman. Like the disgusting pig in North Carolina with 14 to 17 charges, depending on what report you want to look at. This guy, every time out on not even bail, just let him out, let him out, let him out, let him out. To murder a woman who was innocently sitting in front of him on a train. This is what Democrats give you. But Ken, North Carolina is a Republican state. No, it's not. It's a purple state. The last governor was a Democrat. The current governor won as a Republican by like 10 votes. The state is a purple state, and the city of Charleston, rather, is a hardcore leftist blue city with a Democrat mayor and a Democrat police chief and a Democrat city council. So don't give me it's a red state. The city is as blue as it comes. It's because of those stupid policies that this crap happens. 7-12, a New Jersey appeals court rejected a challenge to the state school funding formula, ruling that Lakewood's public school issues stem from financial mismanagement, low taxes, and heavy spending on transportation and special ed for over 50,000 private school students. The decision, part of an 11-year legal battle, prompted attorneys to plan an appeal to the New Jersey Supreme Court, arguing the formula fails to account for the district's unique needs. So you see, part of the issue is parents don't like the public schools, and rightfully so in many cases. They don't like the lack of morality. They don't like how nasty things are in there and the gangs and whatnot. So they pay extra money to send their kids to private school, but they want things like buses and stuff, which they're allowed to have. To pick their kids up. We're already paying taxes. We just don't like the crap in the public school. And now they're trying to fight that? No. The kids are going to school. You got to provide them with transportation, whether they're at your public school or at a private school. Just saying. 7-13. History made at Newark's Cathedral Basilica of the Sacred Heart, which, by the way, is one of the most beautiful basilicas anywhere. If you've never been. You've been to St. Pat's in New York. Come to the Basilica of the Sacred Heart in Newark. It's gorgeous. In a landmark ceremony, Bishop Pedro Bismarck Chao became the first Nicaraguan-born bishop in U.S. history. By the way, the name is, yes, an Asian name. Nicaragua has a lot of Asian population. I've been there. I was a priest, and I actually spent missionary time in Nicaragua. And there are a lot of people from China and from Japan whose ancestors came to help build railroads there many, many decades ago. So this bishop, Bishop Chao, was consecrated by Cardinal Joseph Tobin before a congregation of over 2,000, including clergy from all across the country. The consecration of a bishop, and that's what it's called. You have the ordination of a priest, a consecration of a bishop. It is a very rare event in the Catholic Church, and it is a very beautiful event. And by the way, you'll notice they have multiple pointy hats. You always have 3 bishops at least consecrating a new one. The main bishop, who is Cardinal Tobin, and then 2 what are called auxiliaries, who are there to make sure it's done right, believe it or not, because this is a 2,000-year tradition going back to Christ to ordain bishops from the apostles to the present. It's called apostolic succession. It's a beautiful thing. So that's why you always have 2 others to make sure that literally the Roman canon is followed letter by letter and no mistake is made. In his first address, Bishop Chow gave that in English, and then his Spanish, and then guess what? He also communicates in American Sign Language, pledging to serve North Jersey's Catholic community. He'll now assist in overseeing parishes and schools in Hudson County as an auxiliary bishop under Cardinal Tobin. And you could watch the full ceremony. It's long, but it's beautiful. You can go online or learn more about Bishop Chow's journey at rcan.org. NJ Transit has reached a milestone, completing window replacements on 80 rail cars as part of its modernization program, with 60 cars left to meet the goal of 140 by May of 2026. The agency says they're on track to enhance passenger comfort. And select Target stores, or the Target, nationwide, including 11 in New Jersey, are gearing up for a midnight release of Taylor Swift's 12th album, The Life of a Showgirl, on October 3rd. You fans can grab 3 Target exclusive CDs with a limit of 4 per customer. I love Target. Participating New Jersey locations include Clifton, we know where that one is, Rockaway, Riverdale, and Jersey City, among others. Typical opening 8 a.m. These stores will open at midnight, though, for the special event. Pre-orders for exclusive CDs, posters, and more are available now, with a full list of participating stores on Target's website. Stay tuned. We'll give you more updates. And in a bit of an embarrassing thump of yet another Trump-hating leftist U.S. district judge's orders, the Supreme Court has lifted restrictions that had barred the Trump administration from carrying out immigration-related raids in the LA area based on things like speaking Spanish or gathering at locations where day laborers often gather. So basically, this judge was saying you can't stereotype and say because they're Hispanic over there speaking Spanish, they might be here illegally. Here's the problem, you moron judge. When you have 25 million people who came across the southern border from Spanish-speaking countries, maybe that's a tip-off that the possibilities that and the likelihood that the people who are illegal you're looking for speak Spanish. I'm just saying, that doesn't mean you suspect every Spanish speaker of being here illegally, but you know, it's like the person with the knife dripping blood and the person who has the stab wound over there. You might look at the knife dripping blood and think there's a connection. This is the stupidity of liberal judges, okay? Oh, you can't make that connection. Really? That's called detective work, judge. Maybe if you weren't appointed, you would know that. The U.S. court justices, who were divided along political lines as usual. By the way, I think we should impeach the 3 ladies on the left, because they never vote independent of one another. That's a little suspicious, don't you think? They put on hold that judge's order that reined in what critics called roving raids by ICE agents. Yeah, that's what they're empowered to do by Congress. You don't like it, change the friggin' law. That judge had incorrectly stated that tactics were unconstitutional because he believed agents were detaining people without probable cause. The High Court clearly said, shut up. 717, a Michigan mayor is walking back an announcement from the Dearborn Heights Police Department in Michigan after that agency issued or shared a new optional uniform patch. Look at it on your screen there, featuring writing in Arabic. Yeah. Okay. Now, let me just clarify here. In the entirety of the United States, all police departments have their patches like that, written in English. Occasionally, you'll see a motto. Just a motto, not the whole thing, but just a motto in Latin. Things like here to serve in Latin, because remember, the founding fathers also spoke Latin. They put in some of the founding documents Latin, which was the foundation of English, one of the foundations of English. Other than that, no one writes in Spanish, Italian, German, French. It's all in English except for Dearborn, which basically is 95% Arab now. It is to the point where if you want to come to America, I don't care who you are and where you're from, you're welcome. But integrate and become Americans. It has turned into an Arab state. Dave Bondi is going to come with us later in the week and talk about Dearborn, Michigan. He's out in Michigan. He'll talk about it. Now, the patch, that's a digital mock-up. It was shown on the Facebook page of the department, displayed the words Dearborn Heights Police in both English and Arabic. 2 days after the patch was released, city officials said, oh, it was just an internal discussion. Shouldn't have even been that. They said it shouldn't have been presented as an official option. Yeah, because now you got blowback, you idiot. The city's mayor released a statement saying the patch remains an idea and should not have been presented as an official prototype. There's presently no U.S. Police Department, as I mentioned, displaying writing in any language other than English. Because now President Trump did sign, remember, English was never the official law of the U.S., but President Trump did sign an EO saying it now is. That's the law. You don't like it, change it. 7:19. When we come back, New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein will have the latest on New Jersey's political scene with the Inside Edge. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings. We'll be back in 30. Hello there. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. It's Tuesday. I'm Ken Rosato, 7:15, 51 chilly degrees. Brisk. We'll call them brisk degrees. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. Sunshine today, highs mid-70s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta will tell you that's all going to change tomorrow. Good morning, Mike.
Yeah, but it is refreshing today, right? It's a beautiful way to start the day, just like yesterday. Kids off to school with their backpacks, waiting at the bus stop, enjoying the morning sun. Tomorrow, they'll probably have the umbrellas. It's a big change in the forecast with wind, too, and much chillier conditions. Now, today, well, it starts off cool in the 50s, even the 60s at the coast. We warm into the low 70s, so a beautifully dry and warm afternoon with the sun shining around through at least the early afternoon, but the clouds will start to filter that sun by later today, especially as we head beyond 3, 4 o'clock. That'll turn a bit wetter. Then we head into this evening and the clouds really thicken up, giving us the wet weather for tomorrow morning. So with the sunshine around right now, clouds are offshore. They'll be back over New Jersey by tomorrow. And you can already see there's the system right now off the Carolinas working its way northward, riding along this front, which doesn't really go anywhere. And that allows that rain to move in for tomorrow morning. So the system is just getting organized offshore and will give us our wet weather come this time on Wednesday. We'll start to see the humidity rise as dew points climb back into the 60s. It stays dry to the north and west. That's why we probably won't see much rain, say north and west of 287. A lot of that rain evaporates by the time it reaches the ground because the air is just too dry. But then it turns a little bit more humid as we head into Thursday, with the temperatures feeling more like a, well, late August feel rather than a mid-September feel, because Friday into Saturday actually turned quite warm. We could be in the 80s in some parts of New Jersey. Saturday may also have a quick passing sprinkle as this upper level atmospheric trough kind of sits overhead, giving us some clouds in the way for Sunday, but that'll clear by Monday and we're back to some sunshine for most of the start of next week with our next system again offshore. This is very typical of the September month where we start to see that transition from the summer weather pattern to a more autumnal look in the forecast. At least this weekend, we get a decent amount of sun, especially for most of the day on Saturday. Again, at times there could be some more clouds and maybe a later sprinkle at night, but Sunday has more sun with a warming trend of 76 degrees. So it's a dry start, a milder finish with noticeably more humidity, not as bone dry as it's been. You kind of notice, the lips are getting a little drier, the back of your hands a little drier. Yeah, this is that season where the cooler, crisp air comes in and at least gives the air conditioning a break. Get to open the windows at night. So cooler days ahead, but there are still some warmer afternoons forecast for this weekend, Ken. So nice weather for the fall activities if you have any planned.
I woke up freezing this morning. I noticed I had everything off and I noticed the house temperature dropped to 68, which for me is
Wow.
about 3 degrees too cold to sleep in. 71 chilly, 72 perfect for me. But yeah, a little chilly. All right, Mike, thank you, sir. Pam says we got to do 60. Pam, we should just encase you in an ice cube at night. You'll be fine. It was just Pam, when I don't even, I was going to say something. I'm not going to say it. It'll sound the wrong. People will take it the wrong way. Pam loves the cold. Well, that's all we'll say. Thank you, Pam. And thank you, Mike.
But a
We'll
warm
check back.
heart. A
Yeah.
warm heart.
Like I'm shocked that it doesn't melt the ice cube exterior. See, they're going to take that the wrong way. She's a lovely person. She just likes the cold weather. That's it. All right, we'll check back. Thank you, Mike. It is 724, 50 degrees right now in northern New Jersey, 54 in Trenton. In terms of traffic, we have a crash with injuries on I-80 eastbound, just west of exit 60, which is Route 20 in Patterson. You could see the emergency. That is the actual site there, right there with the emergency vehicles on scene. Pam, of course, always amazingly catching the great shot. The right lane of 4 lanes closed right now. Again, that is I-80 eastbound west of exit 60, Route 20 in Patterson. Switching over now, I know it takes a second for Pam to get the cameras there switched over. We have a disabled vehicle now reported on the Garden State Parkway southbound at the Barnegat Tolls in Barnegat Township. The toll lane is blocked. I think we have a shot. There we go. So this is leading up to the tolls. So it's not too bad. Clearly, it's not causing a ripple effect. But again, that's Garden State southbound by Barnegat Tolls. We also have delays going to the GWB right now. You'll see that there are massive delays now. We showed you traffic before. Now we know why. Apparently, there was an issue. Now they took it away. Apparently, they cleared it. 2 seconds ago, they said that there was some issue mid-span. They must have cleared it up because now things are moving. But they're still saying it is 35 to 45 minutes. 35 on the upper and it's apparently 45 on the lower level across. Lincoln Tunnel now is 20 to 25 minutes. And the Holland Tunnel is 20 minutes as well, making your way across into Manhattan. 726, a new FDU poll finds 77% of New Jersey voters are concerned about damage from extreme weather, with 37% very concerned. 2/3, including 78% of Democrats and 53% of Republicans, want the state to do more to mitigate flooding and other issues. Yes, mitigate flooding, I agree. Voters strongly support a $3 billion bond to fund resilience projects, with 76% in favor. Hey, state, what are you doing with all the tax money? Why do we have to have another bond? What are you doing with all the money? The poll conducted with Rebuild by Design and the Environmental Defense Fund highlights growing bipartisan concern as flooding threatens lives and property statewide. It is now time for Politics from Trenton, explained like no one else can do it. Here's New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein with the Inside Edge.
Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, September 9th. Welcome to the Inside Edge. If you read the New Jersey Globe, you know that I spent a good part of Monday locked on a township council race in Hillside. It's a small contest, but it's turned into a stress test for New Jersey's democracy. And sitting at the center of it all is a Superior Court judge named John Deitch. Here's what happened. On August 27th, the municipal court clerk tossed a candidate off the November ballot for not having enough signatures. The lawsuit was filed on September 2nd. Deitch didn't schedule the first hearing until October 3rd. By then, ballots would have been printed. People will already have been voting. So he moved it to September 15th, still too late. And finally, he pushed it to yesterday afternoon, and he set an evidentiary hearing for this Friday. But here's the reality. If Deitch doesn't rule from the bench on Friday, or at least by Friday night, a candidate could lose one of just 2 weekends before vote by mail ballots go out. That's the real start of voting in New Jersey. Every hour matters, every day matters, and everyone's watching, because there's no branch of government in New Jersey in greater need of sunlight than the judiciary. Judges like to operate sometimes behind closed doors, their own rules, not everybody else's. That doesn't work in this situation. This is an election. Delay isn't neutral, it's consequential. And when judges drag their feet, candidates lose ground, voters lose choices, and democracy loses credibility. And let's be clear, everyone, this isn't a landmark case. It's not Marbury v. Madison. It doesn't require the brilliance of Holmes or Brandeis or Thurgood Marshall. What it requires is discipline, speed, attention to detail. So far, Judge Deitch hasn't shown much of any of that. If this were a race for president or governor, U.S. Senate, Congress, the legislature, it would be over by now. Petition challenges in these races go to an administrative law judge. They hear these cases fast. They rule on them fast. But township council, county committee, even fire commissioner, those get kicked to Superior Court judges like Deitch. And suddenly the clock doesn't seem to matter. Well, guess what, everyone? It matters a lot. And this isn't about just Hillside. In Roselle, there's another election challenge. June 10th, Democratic primary, the margin was 3 votes out of 3,000, and the judge wouldn't approve a recount. The appellate court stepped in. Then there was a recount. Now it's down to 2 votes. The challenge to the election was finally heard last week, still waiting for a ruling. Guess what, everyone? The judge is John Deitch. I mean, you can't make this crap up. And, face it, parts of New Jersey's election law are engineered to fail. An August 21st filing deadline for nonpartisan races, ballots going out barely 4 weeks later, it doesn't work. It's a system designed to manufacture chaos, which is why Friday night matters a great deal. Judge Deitch can fix this. He can rule from the bench. He can decide it cleanly. He can decide it quickly. Because if he doesn't, Hillside won't just be a mess. It'll be an indictment of a process, of a system, and yeah, probably even a judge who thought he had a lot more time than democracy actually gives him. That's it for today, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow.
All right, it is 7:31 now, and we have a temp of 49 degrees in northern New Jersey. It is 54 in Trenton. When we come back, planning a little vacation getaway? Well, what's better, a hotel, an Airbnb, or Verbo, which Pam was just saying, what's a Verbo? Verbo is Vacation Rental by Owner. Verbo, it's an acronym. Eric, the travel guy Hastings, will join us to compare the 3. The phone lines are open. We'll take your calls. In fact, if you've been in one of those 3, hotel, Verbo, or Airbnb, let us know what you prefer and what your experiences were. 888-658-0234. Mostly sunny today, highs mid-70s, a full Garden State forecast with meteorologist Mike Favetta in just a moment. You're watching on ONNJ Mornings. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Jeanette Hoffman, host of Energy Matters. Join me every night at 6 p.m. where we're discussing energy affordability, challenges, and solutions with stakeholders and elected officials. Join me weekdays at 6 p.m. on Energy Matters on ONNJ.
Howdy. Good morning. It's 51 degrees at 7:32 on Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. Sunshine today. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta talking about the change coming. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. You can already see the clouds offshore in advance of the rain that moves in for tomorrow. So, like you mentioned, changes on the way from the beautiful sunny weather we have right now. Nothing but clear sky across New Jersey. A very pretty way to begin the day. Sun glare, certainly an issue with that sun nice and low in the horizon early this morning. But as we head into the afternoon, you'll notice the clouds increase, especially with the cloudy icons here down from Cape May and Avalon, with the clouds coming in first at the coast and a pretty gusty breeze. Temperatures only warm into the low 70s today. It'll feel more humid too and very breezy as the day goes along. Sunset not until 7:15, a much earlier sunset. So with that, as the storm arrives from the south throughout the afternoon today, clouds start to work their way inland and give us a gray sky. You can see it on the Futurecast, especially this afternoon. A very gusty breeze as well blowing, with all of the rain that moves in later tonight and lasting sporadically throughout the day tomorrow. It'll be intermittent with some light showers on and off, pretty much a breezy drizzle, if you will, misty drizzle. You'll likely see the clouds part, bringing back sunshine by Thursday. So it takes a while for those clouds to leave on Thursday morning. Then by the time we get to the end of the week, there goes the system with the clouds. We have our next front that moves in for Thursday, clearing the way for a nice dry finish to the week, but it'll feel a little more humid, almost like the end of August rather than the middle of September, with some milder weather that comes in. A few passing clouds along the way, but other than that, a very mild weekend ahead comparatively. In fact, it gets up to the 80s on Thursday. It'll feel very pleasant. Saturday warms up into the mid 70s as well. And then we keep it dry going into Sunday and Monday of next week. So warmer weather for the afternoons, cooler overnights, temperatures down the shore cool off into the 60s overnight, only warming into the mid 70s by Friday and Saturday. So we have a decent amount of wet weather for tomorrow before clearing takes us into a nice mild weekend. Ken, hope you have those outdoor plans on Saturday and Sunday because it really does look pretty.
Yeah, I think I'll break out the old tinfoil reflector and lay out like I did in 1970 with baby oil and get a little sunshine, and then I'll be at my dermatologist on Tuesday. But yes, thank you. I appreciate that. You see, you're even too young to remember this. Maybe not. I mean, when I was a kid, I'm 58. When I was a kid,
Uh,
this is before we heard about things called, God forbid, skin cancer, but people would
right.
literally slather themselves with, there was no
No,
SPF anything. It was baby oil. You might as well have put lard on your skin. And you said,
I
look, you know what, can we take Eric Hastings right now? Just pop him up, please, Pam, if you can. That's exactly, thank you, Eric. That's exactly how they used to lay out in the sun with a reflector, a tinfoil reflector. And we used to call it tinfoil. It wasn't, they didn't say aluminum. Anyway, there you have it. I'm so glad he did that. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you.
you bet.
Uh, it is 48 degrees chilly right now, but nice. It's a beautiful morning. Just enjoy it now, as Mike said. 54 in Trenton. And before we go to Eric, thank you for that, Eric. We do have a crash with injuries. It's being cleared up right now. It's I-80 westbound, west of exit 60, Route 20 in Patterson. Looks like they may have no, there's still one emergency vehicle. They may have just cleared the major part of it, though. But just avoid that area because you still have a lane closed. Also, delays on 1 northbound from South Broad Street to Olden Avenue in Trenton. All lanes are open, but that's about a mile and a half delay. Your approaches to the Hudson River right now, the Lincoln and Holland are both reporting 30 minutes across. GWB upper and lower levels, still residual delays. Look at that. It is just basically bumper to bumper stop. That's disgusting. 45 minutes in, both upper and lower GWB. Well, think about vacation getaways. That might make you feel a little better. That always helps me. 7:36. Are you planning a little vacation getaway this fall? Well, what's better? A hotel, an Airbnb, a Verbo. For those who don't know, Verbo is an acronym, vacation rental by owner. Well, Eric the Travel Guy Hastings, his website is ericthetravelguy.com. That's Eric with a K. Joins us now to compare the three. Good morning to you, Mr. Reflector.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm so glad that we're of a certain age that we remember the reflector and how awful that was for our skin, but people did that.
Of course. Yeah. Can
God.
you imagine that's what we used to do? Yeah.
Let's get those ultraviolet rays burning our skin as fast as we can. So, Eric, I know obviously there's a difference. Sometimes everyone's like, "Oh, do Airbnb," but sometimes hotels are the better bet. So let's talk about hotels versus Airbnb, and there is a difference in terms of Airbnbs and Verbo, right? Isn't it what homeowners being around and stuff? So talk about the difference between and the pluses and minuses of an Airbnb, hotel, and Verbo, please.
Well, I love we're just digging right in today because I really believe that the lodging decision is one of the most important decisions you're going to make when you're planning
Mhm.
an upcoming vacation. And a lot of times, we don't really think about it in those terms, but if you really wanted to break it out, it's really number three, in my opinion, which is number one, where are you going? Why are you going there? Where and why? That's your number one decision. Number two, how are you going to get there? Is this going to be a cruise? Is this going to be a road trip? Are you going to take a train? Are you going to take most likely an airplane to get there? But number three, when you get there, then what? I'm getting ready to
Mhm.
go to Turkey tomorrow, Ken, and I got to tell you, that is my number one concern. Who's picking me up at the airport? I know how I'm getting there. I know where I'm going. I know why I'm going. Where am I staying? And how am I going to get to that hotel? So I think the lodging decision is really important because then you have a decision as to whether or not that lodging decision is going to be part of your vacation or if it's going to be a little more utilitarian. And so that's one of those things to consider. And certainly your party size will have everything to do with your decision as to where you're going to rest your pretty little head at the end of the day.
Interesting. That makes a lot of sense because that's where you might want to spend a little more money and get a nice Airbnb or a Verbo. Because if you have a brood of 6, Now you could all have separate bedrooms, have your own private space. If you're going to be there for a week, you don't want to all be jammed in one little hotel room or two, and or pay. If you're going to pay for two separate hotel rooms, you might as well get an Airbnb or a Verbo. But now, which I always get confused. Do you recall? I think it's the Airbnb, if I'm correct, that allows a homeowner to meet you if it's in the description. They have to tell you. But like I did an Airbnb once in Florida where the homeowner, it was like a duplex situation, or like they had a mother-daughter house on the property, and the homeowner was in the mother-daughter house, and they had a pool,
Like,
and I felt creeped out. I was like, they're probably, and there were cameras, and they tell you there are cameras. Who
well,
knows what they're,
okay.
I mean, that was
Well,
creepy.
okay, well, but here's the thing. And what I love about certainly Airbnb has done a wonderful job of sort of making the vacation rental cool. They made it trendy, they made it hip, and they did some really innovative things. Now, if the Airbnb people are watching, I feel bad even saying this out loud. That's not my personal preference. I don't prefer to stay in an Airbnb, and it has relatively nothing to do with the company itself. I actually think the company does a great job managing what I would consider herding cats. These homeowners that think they can make an extra buck, and they find out, of course, a lot of them it's a lot of work, and you're dealing with the public, and we can be rather finicky. So again, I have nothing against the company itself. For me, when I travel, I like to have a lot of. I like to mitigate as many risk factors as I can, because travel is stressful enough, which is why I stay at a hotel. I like usually the central location of a hotel. Remember, the first hotel that we at least documented was up in Rhinebeck, New York, up in 66 or something.
Hmm.
Like, hotels have been around a long, long time. Amenities and services, like you mentioned. I like the safety and security of a hotel. So again, there's lots of pros and cons in both directions, but it does matter specifically to you and what you're looking to do. Now, when we go down to Hilton Head, which we do almost annually, if not every other year, we always get a home away, a VRBO, because, like you said, we have 10 people going, and everybody wants their own bedroom and their own bathroom, etc.
And you're right. Your location is key too. When we had sold our house in Hollywood, Florida, and we bought a condo in Fort Lauderdale, and it had to be gutted. So when we would fly back and forth, we couldn't stay or we didn't want to, in the middle of a construction zone, stay in that condo. So what we would do is rent an Airbnb near the condo. But what was cool is, and I talked to Pam, our director, about this, all the years I had a house in Hollywood, Florida, I always wondered what it was like to live in Victoria Park or Coconut Grove or South Beach
Right.
so we rented Airbnbs in all those different locations to see how the other half lives. And we had like a pool on the ocean, and we were like, this is a $2 million house. This is what it's like. Now, we couldn't afford to buy the place, but it was cool because why go through life and die always wondering what it would be like to live there? When you drive by
Right.
that house on the beach or that awesome apartment in downtown with a view of the, whatever. We did all that. And you can do that with a
Right.
VRBO or an Airbnb. So that might be something you might want to experience. But if you don't want that added expense, you don't need it, and you just want the convenience of a beautiful hotel and all the amenities, then the hotel works.
Right. I mean, because again, just remember, your problems are going to follow you on vacation, right? So it's really
Hmm.
important to decide, how is the lodging going to be part of your trip? If you're the type of person or type of people you're traveling with, who say, we want to get up, we want to make breakfast sandwiches in the morning before we go, want to go to the market, we want to, great. You can't do that in a standard hotel. Usually not a
Right.
lot of kitchens in those hotel rooms. But if you're not that type of person, why pay for those amenities when you say, no, I want to go out because I heard the Eggs Benedict at Mel's Diner down the street is the best in the city, and we want to go try that, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is, just make sure you think about that, because, again, an Airbnb or a hotel room or a hotel itself can be part of the experience. And I think that's something that's really cool, especially when you're going to some of these bigger cities that have got hotels that are really historic. I love the history. So I love going to hotels and seeing, oh my gosh, this is where this happened at this hotel.
It is cool. We did that in Rome, by the way, and I know it sounds a little macabre, but where of course now I'm on the spot when I'm tired I forget names. The guy for the star of The Sopranos. The hotel, the
Yes,
Boscolo, the
James
Boscolo
Gandolfini.
Hotel. Yes, thank you.
Hmm.
You think I'm the one in New Jersey. You think, well, you used to be up here, you know. James Gandolfini died in the Boscolo Hotel in Rome, and we stayed there not because of that. We happened to stay there, but when we realized this is the Boscolo. This is where he died, poor man. And we paid an homage. I
Right.
actually said a prayer outside of the room where he passed. So it wasn't like
Yeah.
we didn't do like a selfie. We wouldn't do that. That we draw the line there.
No.
But yeah, you're right.
Right.
There was a certain something like every housekeeper knows that's the room and they take you to that room and they often do not rent it out, they said. It's a big hotel. They could
No.
afford not to. It's
Again,
like a shrine. They
you're
don't
right.
rent it out.
Well, I mentioned Eggs Benedict. I mean, now I'm thinking about it. Of course, you could go to the Waldorf Astoria right there on Park
Right.
Avenue and have breakfast, and that's
Where
where
it was
one of
invented.
the two claim to have invented it. That's right. And see, I like stuff like that. I love, even if
Yeah.
that's not what the trip's about, it's one of those conversation pieces, as you just mentioned with James Gandolfini.
Right. And by the way, one of my neighbors in my last town where I lived, what they did was they rented an Airbnb and went online and found a private chef. And the private chef would come into the Airbnb each day. It had a chef's kitchen and would prepare. He had his extended family and friends, or like 3 couples. And the private chef prepared lunch and dinner for all of the guests in this giant chef's kitchen every day in front of them because they're foodies. And that for them was a great vacation. They said, if we never go
And
to the
that's a
beach,
great,
we're fine with that.
and again, this is one of those things where you have the private chef there. Airbnb and VRBO, they have cleaning protocols. But again,
Mhm.
and they've done a great job with it. But again, I prefer the standardized cleaning protocols of a flagged hotel, such as a Marriott or a Hilton or an IHG, because that's one of the things that matters to me. I don't know why, but it does.
You have every right to. I'm with you. Eric, the travel guy Hastings. It's ericthetravelguy.com. Eric with a K. He's also the star of the PBS and YouTube travel video series Beyond Your Backyard. And if you're into murder mystery, he's the big old host and star of the awesome Orlando, Florida attraction, the Speakeasy Murder and Other Acts of Prohibition Dinner Theater. Check it out when you're down there. You can find it online. Eric, thank you so much for joining us this morning, as always.
Thank you, my friend. I'll see you on the way back from Turkey.
Enjoy your trip. Safe travels, buddy. Thank you. We want to see your posts. All right. Thanks again, Eric. It is 7:46 right now. We have a chilly 51 degrees northern New Jersey. It is 54 in Trenton, 53 down in Vineland. September is National Self-Care Month. When we come back, we'll talk with a doctor who will tell us the importance of knowing that self-care is not just a buzzword, but a crucial part of mental health. Sunshine today, highs in the mid-70s. You're watching ONNJ Jersey Mornings. We're back in 30. And welcome back to ONNJ Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 747. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta. Today, really nice. Tomorrow, not so much. Good morning, Mike.
Exactly. Good morning to you, Ken. We've got a really pretty start to the day. Beautiful sunny weather, dry, cool conditions. But as temperatures warm into the 70s, it'll feel quite pleasant this afternoon with the dry weather persisting in northern New Jersey. We'll see some clouds increase through the end of the day, and this comes in right around sunset, where those clouds move in from the east, allowing for the sun to kind of filter in underneath the cloud deck, giving us that beautiful pink shade right around sunset, around 7 o'clock this evening. Now, as far as the drought, still that moderate drought in northern New Jersey, where you see the shade of tan. Most of the northern half of New Jersey is abnormally dry because we've had a lackluster amount of rainfall over the last month or so, even beyond that, anywhere from a quarter of an inch to a half inch of a rainfall deficit, as we picked up that deficit and closed the gap a few weeks ago, but we're back to the dry conditions. Down in the tropics, this is our statistical peak of hurricane season in the Atlantic for this week in September, and we're quiet. There's nothing going on. Just a whole lot of undeveloped storms down in the Atlantic basin. So we'll keep an eye to the sky here in New Jersey with average temperatures here in the state, but back toward the Midwest and the West, that's where it's a little bit warmer than usual, and slightly above average rainy conditions, precipitation going into the middle toward the end of the month. So a little bit more wet weather on the way. Comes as soon as tomorrow, even on the 70. You see those showers there for tomorrow. Well, they were there. Now they went away. But yes, there's some rain tomorrow for much of the state. And then by Thursday, we'll see a little bit of a warm up with temperatures warming into the 80s. The weekend looks dry and beautiful. Very pleasant conditions on the way going into early next week. A little bit more humid than average even. So there's the rain for tomorrow down the shore, with a better chance of seeing that wet weather at the shore points. Gusty winds too. Remember, those winds will be howling up to about 30 to 35 miles per hour at the coast. We're back to some sunshine and calmer conditions for Wednesday, dry as well for Thursday, but a bit more humid into the weekend as we warm into the mid 70s. Still great weekend to soak up the sun and enjoy some great weather, Ken.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you, Mike. A nice brisk 52 degrees in northern New Jersey right now. It's 54 in Trenton. But here's something that isn't nice or brisk. We have some ugly traffic to report, unfortunately. Take a look right now on I-80. They're still clearing up this earlier issue that we had. Look at that. We still have emergency vehicles. They took away the vehicle that was there. But this is there's been an earlier crash with injuries. I-80 eastbound west of exit 60, which is Route 20 in Patterson. The right lane remains closed. You can see the emergency vehicles remain on the scene. Probably a little investigation there. So just understand you're going to have traffic. You could see on the opposite side, the westbound side, there is rubbernecking going on. So that's going to give you a little issue going through there in Patterson. We have delays also on Route 4 eastbound from east of Hackensack Avenue in Hackensack to east of Queen Anne Road in Teaneck. All lanes are open, but you're down to about 15 to 20 miles an hour through there. And we have an issue now on the New Jersey Turnpike Eastern Spur northbound exiting at interchange 16E, which is Route 3 going to the Lincoln Tunnel. Look at this mess. So the on the right where it's jammed, that is what takes you to Route 3 to the link to 495 Lincoln Tunnel. But I guess people who don't want to go there are trying to avoid it by going to the left, and something must have happened beyond that. So now you have traffic trying to avoid 16E on the turnpike and those getting off at 16E. So apparently there is an issue getting into the Lincoln Tunnel right now, causing that residual delay because it's not moving. Look at the exit. It's literally not moving at the exit at all. And that is normally, usually from that point, if there's no traffic, you're talking 15 minutes into the city. Right now, they're saying 45 to 50 going into the Lincoln Tunnel. So there is something going on at the Lincoln right now. Just try to avoid it at all costs. Holland Tunnel is your best bet. It's actually 35 minutes, but it's better than the Lincoln. And if we can, we'll take a look at the GWB. This wasn't much better. This was 45 minutes in, upper and lower. In fact, the upper level was jammed a little while ago. Let's see. Yeah, so the upper is on the right, lower is on the left. Not a pretty ride into Manhattan, and yet that you have that one person going in the breakdown lane. That is illegal. Please don't do that for your safety and others. It is not a good idea. And if a cop catches you, you're getting a big old ticket. It is 7:51, and we are joined now by Dr. Tara Chelakane, who is a licensed professional counselor and CEO of Preferred Behavioral Health, which is an organization dedicated to promoting emotional well-being. We need that on this show, and providing comprehensive mental health services across communities, something that people always overlook. And we're going to talk about that. With September marking National Self-Care Month, Dr. Chelakane is here to help us understand why self-care isn't just a buzzword, but it is a crucial part of mental health, especially in a time when we have burnout and stress and emotional fatigue hitting record highs. Through her leadership and clinical background, she's been a strong advocate for turning self-care into a daily practice, not a once-a-year reminder. Good to have you on, Dr. Chelakane. Nice to have you.
It's good to be here. Thank you, Ken. And I love talking about this topic.
Good, thank you, and I'm glad you do. I like talking about it too. I make no bones about it. I have gone to therapy and counseling over the years. It has gotten me through every major hurdle of my life. By the way, not just through bad times. I've gone to therapists in good times when I was like too elated to the point that I was not paying attention to things because I was just over the hill. It helped keep me grounded and gave me perspective. And I think a lot of people overlook that. They think only when I'm depressed and sad, I need to go to a therapist. Talk about that a little bit, because this is we have an entire month now dedicated to self-care. And we need that because people just don't do it, right?
We do. And I love what you're saying. People like you, Ken, are my BFFs, because I need more people like you out there normalizing the need for therapy and destigmatizing caring for our mental health. And you're absolutely right. When I have clients sit down in front of me and say, I have nothing bad to tell you today, I celebrate that. That's the goal. And that's when you should stay in therapy, because you want to maintain that wellness and that optimal mental health. But counseling and therapy is just one piece of the puzzle. And sometimes for certain people, it's maybe they're not ready or it's unattainable. But there are certainly many other ways that we can care for ourselves to optimize our mental, physical, and spiritual well-being.
Yeah, and it is, I love that trio. There is a trio to overall health because mental issues, mental stresses can manifest in physical illness, correct? Look, I suffer from AFib. I know when I'm under stress, I get palpitations, and that can trigger my AFib. So one is directly connected to the other. It's an overall holistic approach you need to have, right?
And that's one of the biggest mistakes people make. They think that your mind or your mental health is completely separate from your physical well-being. And we are one whole human body, and everything is interconnected. So just little tweaks like taking 5 minutes to do some deep breathing or stepping outside and walking around a block, little things. It doesn't have to be rigorous exercise. It doesn't have to be anything that costs a tremendous amount of money, but little things that you can pepper into your day can have really optimal results. And the fact is that health is wealth. And when we feel great in our bodies, we feel great in our minds, and vice versa. So just eating well, getting rest, getting a little exercise, that wards off illness. We're heading into flu season. And listen, when we don't feel well and we're bedbound, we're not happy, right? We're in bed, we're binge watching something, we're feeling sad about ourselves because we don't feel well. So it's all hand in hand work, taking care of ourselves.
Yeah, my little thing is I reward myself midweek if something really went well and I worked hard for it. I'll go to a place. There's this little place, $30 for 30 minutes. I give you a foot massage or
Oh,
a neck and shoulder massage, and I will go and reward myself with that for $30. That's my little treat to myself, and it is the most rejuvenating, most awesome thing. I look forward to that more than just about anything else. But it's like those little things that help get you through, and it's good for you. Actually, it's good for your body, your lymphatic system, and everything else to do that. So, but I think everybody should find that one thing, whether it's I want to go for a hike because I like it, or I want to spend time with my partner, or whatever. It's part of the overall approach, right? And just because you're the CEO of Preferred Behavioral Health, so you notice the trends. What trends or concerns have you seen recently that make self-care more important than ever right now?
well, I think people generally are under a lot of stress in their lives, whether it's employment issues, financial issues, which then impacts their mental health and well being. And anxiety and depression really rank top for the top 1 and 2 spots of the number one reasons why people acquire our services. But substance use is still something that is epidemic in our society, and not just street drugs. I mean, since the pandemic, we've seen people turning to alcohol, even though overall people are drinking less these days. In my world, where we're providing treatment, it's still very prevalent, the legalization of marijuana. So these are the things that you don't want to turn to when you're stressed. You don't want to rely on negative coping skills that will impact your health and be detrimental all the more. So, like you were saying, a 30-minute treat, a massage. I think a lot of people have a faulty belief that self-care is selfish, it's indulgent, but it's necessary, and it doesn't have to be expensive. There are many things that we can do during the day that are free. I mean, like I said, just stepping outside, if you're in an office, step outside, get some sunlight on your face, breathe some fresh air. Just doing that is helpful. Feeling ambient light, smelling fresh air. I mean, it doesn't have to be something prohibitive or time consuming. Like I always tell people, a 10-minute walk will boost your mood for hours. So that's free. It doesn't have to be an expensive gym or anything that feels prohibitive. And it's also very personal. You mentioned a hike. I'm not a hiker. I love to walk. I love to ride my bike. I love to do yoga. I'm a sailor, but that's my story. So everyone needs to find what works for them. And if it puts a smile on your face, if it makes you feel good, then you know you found your thing.
That's excellent advice. I mean, I'm not so much a hiker, I'm more of a walker. My other half is a hiker, but we get that that's an intentional thing so that we could spend time together. That's I notice when we go hiking together, that's when we do our conversing and because I notice you never get heated when you're hiking, heated in terms of like getting angry with each other because you're kind of diverted because you're concentrating on the hike. So you tend on just referring to the good stuff around you as opposed to any negative thoughts. You just leave those behind. We love
Sure.
spending that time together. We only have about 30 seconds left, Doctor. I wanted to hit just, and I should have given you more time for this. Why do we have such a stigma about mental health? You know, if somebody has the flu, they don't hesitate to get treated for it. If someone has a cut, they don't hesitate. Why is it that mental health has such a stigma attached?
Well, I think it's very historical in nature. And I think that, in the past, we didn't have correct names for what people were experiencing. And in my world, I always say, if you can name it, you can tame it. So when you don't call something by what it actually is, it creates these negative feelings. So I think historically that was part of it. And we use words like crazy or weak, and no one wants to be either of those things. But if we make it normal, it's just part of life. We're human beings, we're feeling beings, we're going to have emotions, we're going, just like we're going to catch a cold. 1 out of 2 people, every person on the earth will feel depressed at some point in their life. So we're not alone. And I think that that's another piece. People feel very alone and isolated, or they feel like no one else is going through what they're going through. So if we have conversations like this, Ken, if we talk on, the soccer fields when the kids are playing about who our therapist is instead of who's cutting our hair, it becomes less and less stigmatized. So I applaud you and thank you for being open and honest and having this dialogue with me, because we're going to help people today.
Amen. Let's do it. And what's a website, Doctor, for people to get more information about preferred behavioral health?
Preferredbehavioral.org is our website. We're on the same name on all social media platforms. We offer great advice, great services, and we're always here to help New Jersey.
That is awesome. Licensed professional counselor, CEO of Preferred Behavioral Health, preferredbehavioral.org. Dr. Tara Chalicani, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Please come back.
My pleasure, Ken. Thank you.
You bet. It is 8:01 right now, 56 degrees. I feel better. Dr. Chalicani has this as a soothing way about her. It's nice to talk to her. I think we all need a little of that in our lives. 51 in northern New Jersey, 54 in Trenton. When we come back, we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. Lots of sun today. The clouds come in tonight and then a little rain tomorrow. Highs today, mid-70s. You're watching ONNJ Mornings. We'll be back in 30. And a very good morning. It is 8:02, Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. It is 56 degrees northern New Jersey, 54 degrees in Trenton. Northern New Jersey beating out Trenton right now. I guess a little more sunshine here. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. We will take calls at 888-658-0234. Of course, yesterday when we had no extra time, we got a call that we couldn't take. And today when we have a couple extra seconds, we're not getting the call. But give us a call and let us know how you feel about the conversation today. Talk about anything in the news or any opinions, or even to say, hey, Rosato, be quiet. We don't want to hear about it. 888-658-0234. Lots of sun today. Highs mid-70s, but that's a changing. Head to meteorologist Mike Favetta with a check of the Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. Yeah, interesting to note how certain neighborhoods are a little bit warmer with the sunshine warming up. Places in northern New Jersey right now, Hackensack and Newark, 61 degrees for you. Back over toward Trenton, only 55. So there is a little bit of a variation, but there will be a warm day today with temperatures climbing into the low 70s. We're just about where we were yesterday, plus or minus a few degrees, with the dew points nice and low. So the air is dry and it stays very pleasant into this afternoon. Clear sky across the state and will stay that way through the end of probably 1, 2 o'clock today. Not the end of the day, because that northeasterly breeze that gets pretty gusty by this afternoon, up to about 30 miles per hour at the coast, brings in some clouds throughout the afternoon into this evening and gives us an overcast sky overnight, leading to some light rain for tomorrow. That's what you see on the futurecast. Temperatures in the 70s with sunshine today. But notice how the clouds work in by this evening. Already some rain appearing on the map before midnight. And then most of the rain moves in throughout the day tomorrow. Light, spotty, just kind of a drizzly and breezy, cool day with cloud cover, and temperatures hold in the 60s statewide. So a much cooler feeling on the way with the gray sky, but only lasts a day, because we're back to sunny and 80s by Thursday. A very pretty way to finish out the week, with warmer weather on the way and a bit more humidity too by Friday. You'll begin to feel that humid weather take over throughout Friday afternoon. Certainly not oppressive, just a bit unusual for the middle of September. Typically it's very dry by the middle of September, but by Thursday and Friday, as temperatures warm back into the low 80s, it'll feel kind of like the end of August. We'll give you more details on the weekend weather, let you know how the weekend is shaping up, coming up in a few minutes, Ken.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. And I'm going to give Pam a request shout out live on the air. I know Pam was working on our next guest. But Pam, if you can, could you bring up the New Jersey Turnpike Tour mile marker 073.7, 073.7, interchange 8A? I know that sounds technical, everybody. Excuse us. You'll see why. So it's a New Jersey Turnpike Tour mile marker 073.7, interchange 8A, and you will see why we're calling for that. There it is. Thank you, Pam. Pam, the magical fingers, Pam. So we have a crash with property damage. This is on the New Jersey Turnpike inside the entry of interchange 8A, Route 32 in Monroe Township, with a lane block. So we have it live on the air. Figured we would show that to you. And then, Pam, if you could find that other I-80 cam again for us that we had before by Route 20, exit 60 in Patterson. We'll bring that up. This is an earlier accident. Thank you, Pam. That's still being worked on, investigated. They apparently took the vehicle that was involved in the crash away, but they've had those emergency vehicles there for like 90 minutes now. So there's clearly an investigation going on. That would suggest it might have been a serious crash with injuries. So we'll see how long that goes on. But the right lane remains closed. Again, this is on I-80 eastbound at exit just west of exit 60, Route 20 in Patterson. That right lane is closed. The Hudson River crossings are just a mess today, an absolute nightmare. Lincoln Tunnel is 45 minutes across. There's something going on which they are not reporting yet. Holland is about 25 to 30, and the GWB upper and lower levels jamming. All right, so we have look at that. The lower level is about 35 minutes. Upper level, they're telling us 30 to 35. So you might save a few minutes by going to the upper level. But just to give you a heads up that it is definitely an issue. So Pam, while you're working on that audio, I'm going to do the Chicago shootings story. So we'll talk about that. If you have the video punched up for Chicago shootings, we'll do that. It was another bloody weekend, unfortunately, in Chicago. 19 people were shot. 12 of them were killed as the governor there, Jay Pritzker, and Mayor Brandon Johnson continued to insist there is nothing to see there. Now, Chicago has just 30% of the population of New York City. So I want you to think about this. That would be the equivalent of New York City having 64 people shot and 40 killed. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if we sat here and said that 64 people were shot in New York this weekend, God forbid, and 40 were killed? Now, this past weekend was not a particular weekend. It wasn't a holiday weekend. It wasn't 90 degrees where people were out. There was no reason for a spike in numbers. And actually, it was lower than the weekend before, which was a holiday weekend. Yet you had that number of people, 19 shot, 12 killed in Chicago. It would not be acceptable in New York. It would not be acceptable in any other big city on the planet. You know, in Beirut right now, which is a war zone, that many people are not dying on a weekend. But in Chicago, they are. And yet the governor and the mayor say nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. You know what? Me senses the white extreme liberal leftists in Chicago who were demanding that Trump, orange man bad, stay out. First of all, let me say, you can hate the man personally all you want. Your first duty is to protect the people of your city. And almost in fact, every person murdered was black this weekend. What are you doing, white governor, to protect the black citizens of Chicago? Letting them shoot each other up? That's what it's starting to feel like. Pritzker is from the Hyatt hotel family. He's worth billions. He lives in the governor's mansion when he wants or his private mansion when he wants. He doesn't have to see the problems of daily life in Chicago. Okay. Yet he's telling the president, don't send in the National Guard. We got it covered. Each week, mothers are finding their kids blown apart. And that seems to be just fine. Mayor Johnson's solution there is, we'll deal with it. We'll send psychological help in. We'll send mental health therapists in, which when gangs have guns and they're 13, they really don't care to hear about mental health. They also love to say that crime is down year to year, which is a totally false statement because the problem is, number one, the DA in town does not arrest people for different crimes that they were arresting people for a year or two ago. So that looks like crime is down when it really isn't. If you choose not to charge people with crimes, then of course it's going to be down year to year, right? The other issue is you have to look, see, they're comparing 2023 to 2024. 2023, we still had COVID shutdowns, and we had the highest murder rate on the planet in every big city in America and around the world. 2024, you saw the biggest decline in murder rates from 2023 because people were out of the house for the first time in 2 years. So what they're doing is they're comparing apples to oranges. If you, though, look at 2019 and 2024, the last year before COVID, first year after COVID, Chicago actually had an increase in murders. So you have to understand the real rates that you must look at. The murder rate went up in Chicago. So when they talk about sending in the National Guard and that it's a national emergency, and the mayor and the governor say, no, it's not, crime is down, they're lying through their teeth. They just don't like being exposed on national television. There you have it. That's our opinion. Let us know how you feel about it. Our number is 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Our next guest is Melissa Walker. She's an acclaimed jazz vocalist and founder of Jazz House Kids, a nationally recognized nonprofit that transforms lives using the power and legacy of jazz. This month, the organization will present its biggest celebration yet, the Montclair Jazz Festival. It's returning September 13th with an all-star lineup. It'll feature a massive block party and more than 50 emerging young musicians from the Jazz House program lighting up the stage, and all free. Here to talk about it, Melissa Walker herself. Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning. Good morning, Ken. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you. Nice to have you on. I love Montclair. I used to live in North Caldwell, right next door. So I used to be in Montclair all the time. What inspired you to create Jazz House Kids, by the way? And how has the mission evolved over the years?
Well, thanks. We're approaching our 23rd year of rising and improvising. Our mission is to provide access to jazz, world-class learning, career development to help foster young lives on and off stage, and community building. And I'm a jazz singer, and I got my start close to 25 years ago before we started the organization. I'm just trying to introduce as many young people to this music. I really felt that there was so much fun and joy and so much to be learned by the experience of being on stage. It's a uniquely American art form, and they're just life lessons. And so, we've been doing it ever since. Almost 60,000 young people that we've served, here all across New Jersey and in New York City, and in the summer from around the world. So every day it's all about jazz.
We love it. I was a radio DJ, and I've worked in just about every format of radio, from top 40, adult contemporary, classical, and I worked at jazz. And that was my favorite. In fact, when I first heard Antonio Carlos Jobim and his music, in fact, I got goosebumps right now thinking about it. My two favorites are him and his wife. And his wife, by the way, for those who don't realize, she was the accidental singer of Girl from Ipanema, right? There was supposed to be another singer recording it, and the person didn't show up, and they had paid for the recording session. And so the famed Girl from Ipanema was an accident as it's recorded, but it's one of the greatest jazz recordings ever, right? True. Among the greatest. And then Jobim with Sinatra. For people in New Jersey, right? Go listen to Jobim and Sinatra. Again, goosebumps. Jazz is great, and it's one of the. It again, as you pointed out, it is an American invention. It's from the beautiful influence of the African community that came here and gave us jazz. It is just a gift that if you don't experience, you don't know what you're missing. Why is it so important, you think, to establish, show established artists rather, and emerging talent on the same stage? Why is that so essential, and why is that highlighted?
I think that's exactly what we're all about, right? Is young talent every day at the Jazz House. But part of this music is it's a folk music jazz. It's about handing down from one generation, one player to the next. It's also about telling your story. So the Montclair Jazz Festival gives us this unique opportunity to bring all of these young people who are spending so much time honing their craft, working in a democratic process. Right, you've got to
Mhm.
listen to other voices. Everyone's voice counts. There's a leader, but there's an ensemble that's there to support that collective outpour of music. And so at the Jazz House and at the Montclair Jazz Festival, you will see two stages. You'll see our main stage with our veterans and many of today's artists that are just, taking the world by storm and playing around the world and coming to Montclair for a day-long jamboree. But you'll also see a stage with emerging talent. And truly, if you visit that stage, you will see those artists on the main stage in the few years ahead. And so that kind of mix, that real taking our young players very serious as they work on their craft, is just part of the fabric of jazz. It's part of what makes it tick. And, just your story right now, that's the improvisation of jazz. It's making something happen even when there's a detour. And that's what these young people are learning. And you'll hear them, and everyone is always super surprised by just how talented and top notch their music is, even at such a young
Melissa,
age.
I'm sorry to step on you, Melissa. I was going to say, as an established jazz artist yourself, as a singer, when you hear the young voices or young artists in jazz and different instrumentation, what does that do for you? Does it? I mean, you must feel, wow, okay, we're handing it on, and this is great. This is the next generation coming up. It's going. It's going to keep sailing.
We call that playing it forward. Ken, it's just there. It's really the gift that says that's the proof of concept that what we're doing matters. What we're doing is driving student success and building communities. That's what Jazz House is about. We want to see kids succeed, and we want to build the communities where they live. And so when we see young people kind of harness all the hard work that they have been, spending hours and hours of time. Our young people are spending, every day, multiple hours just working on their craft, in addition to being a top student and working there. So when we see them on stage, bringing community together, bringing so much joy, and being civic minded in that way, that's the bigger construct of what our work is. It's just true joy. It's beyond my wildest dreams for when I started it 25 years ago.
Amen. I'm just thinking Keely Smith. I'm thinking like all these great artists are now popping up in my head. Thinking back to when I was a DJ in jazz, and it was just, I literally, I don't want to say this out loud. I shouldn't have gotten paid because I was having such a good time. And it was a day when disc jockeys actually got to select music still. Today they don't. It's, the playlist is
That's
what it
right.
is. And I don't know if you ever listen to Sirius XM Jazz Channel. You probably do.
I do.
The man who is the program director and afternoon host, I live part-time in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He's my neighbor. So he
Mark
does his
Ruffin.
jazz. Yes, Mark. Yes, and his wife is from Montclair. His
Yes,
wife's
she
from
is.
Montclair. He's from Chicago. Mark
Yes.
Mark is my neighbor in Fort Lauderdale. We live right next door. He does his show from his balcony,
Yeah.
overlooking the water, and I do this show on my balcony. We're like next door. We're dear friends. He is just the coolest guy. When I first moved into the building, I saw this guy with these cool gray dreads, and he was just
Mm-hmm.
the most chill, and he had this cool smile. And he looked at me and he said, "I've seen you. You're Ken Rosato from
Yes.
Channel 7." I was like, you know who I am in Fort Lauderdale. He is just the coolest guy, and I love him. So awesome.
And he's
I
a
think he's going to
partner.
retire. Yeah,
Yes,
really?
yes,
Is he going to
Sirius
be at?
XM.
Is he going to be there?
Well, you know what they do actually this week, Ken? They rebroadcast last year's Montclair Jazz Festival. They started this weekend. Today they're rebroadcasting. All through the week, they'll rebroadcast. Then over New Year's weekend, they will rebroadcast the 2025 Montclair Jazz Festival. So if you talk about a wonderful coming together, so say hi to your neighbor. He's a big supporter of Jazz House Kids and a big supporter of the Montclair Jazz Festival.
Oh, that's awesome. And by the way, he
Seriously.
just wrote a book last year. So pick up his book out there. Mark Ruffin, Ruffin, my dear friend and neighbor from Fort Lauderdale now. They live most of the time there and then they come up, of course, all the time up here too. What's a website? We got to get a website for people to get more information.
Yes. Well, the downtown jamboree of the Montclair Jazz Festival is this Saturday from noon till 8 p.m. Then we end with the block party, and which is really a dance party with DJ Brother Mister. Find out more from going to montclairjazzfestival.org and Jazz House Kids. Jazz House Kids is the producer of the Montclair Jazz Festival. So you can find it on either website, the montclairjazzfestival.org or Jazz House Kids, this Saturday, September 13th at noon at Lackawanna Station in the heart of Montclair.
Which is a great place, by the way. A friend of mine built a restaurant in that building. It's just, it's amazing. Acclaimed jazz vocalist and founder of Jazz House Kids, Melissa Walker. I'm giving you a big virtual hug. It was such a pleasure meeting you. Enjoy the festival. It's going to be a great time. Thank you for joining us this
Mid
morning, and please come
70s and
back again.
sunny.
Oh, yes, there you go. Love it. Love it.
Cut
Have
the
a
weather.
wonderful day and enjoy it. Have a great time.
Thank
We'll
you.
be watching and listening. You bet. It is now 51 degrees at 8:20, and we're coming right back on New Jersey Mornings. Don't go away. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. It is 8:21, and we're taking calls at 888-658-0234. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with an awfully nice, for today, Garden State
Yes.
forecast. Good morning, Mike.
It is a really pretty day today. Beautiful weather, dry and sunny, but it really goes downhill by tomorrow. You'll start to see the clouds increase throughout later this afternoon, a gray sky to begin our day tomorrow with rain on the way as well. So enjoy the sunshine today while it lasts. Temperatures climb into the low 70s, inland 75 toward Princeton and Trenton. Lots of clear weather, and then the clouds begin to increase offshore. You can see where the parent storm is right down off the coast of Florida, working through the Carolinas, and it stays offshore most of the rain, but there'll be some spotty showers and clouds that swing back in our direction throughout the overnight and into tomorrow morning. That will start to raise the humidity, so the dew points rise, going from that shade of yellow to green, showing here on the more humid side of the scale, especially with that drier weather back off to the north and west. That northeasterly breeze doesn't really make it feel all that humid up in the hills there in Sussex County. But beyond that, it'll turn drier for Thursday. Rain-wise, there's still a little bit of humidity that lingers into Friday, making it feel more like the end of August with all that sunshine. And then as we head into Saturday and the weekend, a few clouds around, maybe a sprinkle, but it's Sunday that clears out beautifully and stays nice and dry throughout our Sunday afternoon and Monday. And that's the September weather that we're looking for that remains through most of next week. So it'll be a very pleasantly dry period upcoming after a little bit more humidity that builds in for the weekend. So again, we're back into the 80s for Thursday, warm on Friday, even Saturday and Sunday, holding in the mid 70s with a noticeable level of humidity. Not sweltering, not oppressive, but unusually more humid than we typically see this time of year for the middle of September, Ken. We take a look at the 7-day forecast with your weekend weather, and next week, that's coming up in a few minutes.
Awesome, sir. Thank you very much. It is 52 brisk, beautiful degrees on your Tuesday morning. I almost said Monday. It is Tuesday, Tuesday morning in northern New Jersey, 56 in Trenton. And Americans are spending more than ever on wellness, but somehow stress, burnout, and body shame are still on the rise. Our next guest says the real issue isn't willpower. It's how our brains are wired. Corey McClurg is a best-selling author, veteran, and wellness expert who combines science, psychology, and personal experience to tackle the emotional roadblocks holding us back. And her new book takes aim at toxic diet culture, the myth of willpower, and the shame that keeps us stuck. Corey, welcome and thank you for your service. Good to have you on with us this morning.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
You got it. I was one of those people who used to eat poorly. I was 360 pounds, used to drink 3 martinis a day, way too bad. Change it all. But it was so hard and it took so long. But like once you rewire and you kind of reprogram, then you get into the cycle and it's easy. So it's been a lot of years since I was that weight or drank that much alcohol, et cetera. So tell us about the understanding of emotions and health and how you can make lasting changes. Because sometimes it's hard to make that start, right?
It is, and I think our culture so much perpetuates that. We often think that we're sort of cut off at the neck, right? That our brain doesn't impact our body, and vice versa. But the truth is that our brains have a huge impact on our wellness, and really understanding our brains and really understanding emotion will take you so much further than just trying to gut it out in making lasting change.
Yeah, and the environment has so much to do with it too, right? So what about the modern environmental challenges and how does that shape our health strategy?
100%. I mean, we are really in a very unique position ever in human history. We have an abundance of calories around us all the time. And unfortunately, they come in these ultra processed packages, things that our brain is not accustomed to handling. We've never ever in human history been able to grab something that will just give us such a huge hit of dopamine, and that's incredibly unique. So I really encourage people, don't get down on yourself when you are, when you're craving that stuff. It's very unique in the way that we live today.
Yeah, Corey, I could recall when I was heavier, and I would do fast food probably once or twice a week minimally. Minimal. I don't even touch it today, but back in the day, I remember if I had something from the Big M, if you know what I'm talking about, the next
Yep.
day
Hmm.
I would be starving. There was something, I don't
Hmm.
know if it was just the psychological craving or if there's something in the food, but for whatever reason, if I had a burger from that place, the next day I was like climbing a wall starving. So I don't know how much of that, like I said, was psychological, but it would just put me into a kind of a cycle, like a spin out cycle. So would that be something that would clearly be a roadblock to success by allowing myself to get into that?
100%. I mean, these foods really do hijack your brain. I mean, it's a this rush of chemicals that you would have never experienced, when we were foraging for food. And so what you experience is very common, and people find themselves literally in an addiction cycle. It's not an overstatement to say that you really can get addicted to that kind of food. Um,
Mm.
so again, it's all about just noticing that. I mean, good for you, Ken, for noticing that you really felt crappy the next day after you ate that stuff, and letting yourself get clued into the fact that, hey, maybe this isn't great for me. And don't beat yourself up. Just say, hey, I see that this is happening. What can I do to start changing that?
And I had actually gone to a doctor and a nutritionist to work on my whole lifestyle, holistic approach to a lifestyle change. And I remember saying to the nutritionist, it's overwhelming for me to think about going from this to this because again, I was 360 pounds and all my friends were 180 and I'm like, how do I lose half of my body? And the nutritionist stopped me and said, stop. I can see what you're doing right now. You have to stop thinking tomorrow I have to be that. She said to me, if you lose a fourth of a pound in 2 weeks, okay, what's your rush? We're going to do this slowly and steadily like a turtle, and you're going to get there. It's going to take a little time. Who cares? At least you're in the right direction. Boy, oh boy, did she nail it. She absolutely nailed it. And it
Yeah.
was about making all the little changes. And then once you start seeing little progress, you're encouraged to keep making more changes.
That's exactly right. I mean, good for her for giving you such great advice. This is not an overnight thing. You didn't get in that pattern. You didn't get to 360 pounds overnight. And so, you're not going to get to 180 overnight either. And I know a lot of times that can seem kind of frustrating, and especially in sort of an instant gratification environment that we're in now. But yeah, it's baby steps. It's really just noticing, throughout the day how you're feeling. Are you really hungry? What could you eat instead of going through the drive-through? It's just those little bits of conscious effort through the day. It's not going to happen overnight, but like celebrate those wins. Heck yeah, if you lost a quarter of a pound in 2 weeks, fantastic. Celebrate that. I think so often we get in this cycle because we want, instant results. We forget to celebrate the little things that we fixed, every day. Hey, I ate 5 vegetables today. Like, get excited about that. That's how you're going to make those little changes and eventually get to that, half your size kind of level. But it just takes those baby steps every day.
100%. And how important is the mind-body connection? How important is it to make sure that you take care of yourself and emotionally you are well in order to translate that physically?
Completely. It's huge. I mean, we're really learning so much about our guts and our microbiome, and we know so much more now about how that is impacts our brains. So much of our brain chemical is produced, or there's receptors for those chemicals in our guts. So it's incredibly important, and why it's so important to just give ourselves a little compassion through this process that, overloading yourself with negative emotion all day, every day is certainly not going to impact this process in the right direction. So yeah, 100%. We're knowing more and more every day about how our brains are connected to our bodies, and vice versa, and how much caring for both really helps the other.
I love your book title, Get Out of Your Own Way. I also love the subtitle of it, which we may not be able to talk about on the air, but you'll find it if you go
Yeah.
online and buy it. You get it at Amazon and wherever books are sold. Uh, Tell us your website, though, so people can find it there too, and for more information.
Yeah. You can just find me. It's my name, CoriMcClurg.com, KORIMCCLURG. And yeah, you can find me on Amazon, Get Out of Your Way by Cory McClurg.
Love it. It is great talking to you. Best-selling author, veteran. Again, thank you for that service. And wellness expert, Cory McClurg. Thanks for joining us this morning. Please come back again.
Thanks so much, Ken.
You bet. Have a great day. It is 8:32. We have 55 degrees now. It is that's northern New Jersey, and we have 56 in Trenton. And when we come back, artificial intelligence is changing the world. But how do we make sure the next generation is ready for it? Phone lines are open, taking calls at 888-658-0234. You're watching on New Jersey Mornings. We're back in 30.
Hi, I'm Jeanette Hoffman, host of Energy Matters. Join me every night at 6 p.m. where we're discussing energy affordability, challenges, and solutions with stakeholders and elected officials. Join me weekdays at 6 p.m. on Energy Matters on ONNJ.
Very good morning to you. It is Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. It is 52 degrees in northern New Jersey, 56 degrees in Trenton. I'm Ken Rosato, and welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. Lots of sun today, but that's going to change. Highs today, mid-70s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with a detailed Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning to you, Ken. A very pretty start to the day. Plenty of mild weather on tap with sunny weather throughout this afternoon until we get to about 2-3 o'clock. That's when we see the clouds build throughout the end of the day, especially in southern New Jersey, where currently we are sunny, but with temperatures warming quickly into the low 70s. We'll kind of hit the pause button on the warming thanks to that gusty northeasterly breeze that takes over throughout this afternoon. With sunset at 7:15, we'll see mostly cloudy skies by then, as most of the clouds are now offshore, but they eventually work their way inland, giving us those gusty winds as well. So as temperatures start to climb into the mid 60s, you'll see by tomorrow that rain takes over and lasts throughout the afternoon. The wider view showing the future cast, all of that rain offshore today moves in throughout the night into tomorrow and gives us a gray sky, even going all the way back to the middle of Pennsylvania. So we'll be sucked in with the clouds with a gray sky tomorrow. That will clear by Thursday afternoon, and then we stay pretty dry, just a little extra humidity with some clouds on Friday into Saturday, and then Saturday afternoon should clear out beautifully just in time for the weekend. While the skies clear out for Saturday into Sunday, the humidity does not. It'll be noticeably more humid with highs holding in the mid 70s throughout the end of the weekend and even into Monday of next week. Dry weather prevails. No rain forecast this weekend. That's some really good news. There is some rain forecast tomorrow, however, especially at the shore, with clearing happening on Thursday and Friday. It looks very pretty. And then by Sunday into Monday, that mild weather sticks around. So pretty much on average temperature-wise throughout the end of the week and into next week. But we'll see a little bit more of that humidity work in, Ken, throughout Saturday and Sunday, making it feel like summer doesn't want to leave just yet.
Good. Good. See, this is what happens when I slip Summer $2. Hey, Summer, come here,
Oh,
come here.
that's all it takes
That's
nowadays?
like,
Wow.
well, I'm a man of a certain age, 58. You always had that Uncle Tony who's like, here's a dollar. Go get your uncle a cigar. That kind of a thing. That was when I was a kid. Today they would say, here's a 50. Go get your uncle a martini. It's quite a different world. I'm just saying. All right. All right, Mike, we'll check back with you, sir. 53 degrees, northern New Jersey, 56 in Trenton. In terms of traffic, let's go to the Route 139, which is the approach to the Holland Tunnel. Take a look at this ugliness. We have something going on 139. They had it popped up, and now they took it down. It says that it's 25 to 30 minutes, something into the Holland Tunnel, but it's not saying what the problem is. A couple of minutes ago, they had something, but now it's gone. It says just 139 into the Tunnelly Circle. So if we could bring this up again, it's the 139 tour, Pam, east at New Jersey Turnpike. Okay, we'll bring it up. We'll bring it up. But it's absolutely parked. We really want to show you this shot. They're just having a technical glitch right now. If you can't do it, Pam, that's okay. You know what? I could bring it up. I'll bring it up right here. I'm going to do old school, Pam. That's old school. And excuse the fingerprints. You see now, look at the lanes on one side stopped and the other side moving. A minute ago, it was just, oh, now, okay. A minute ago, it was just the opposite. It was the lane that's moving was stopped. So apparently they're alternating it for some reason. We don't know why, but we'll figure it out and we'll let you know why they are alternating the movement. But there's an issue nonetheless. 130, there we go. Thank you, Pam. 139 into the Holland Tunnel. We're also still, we have residual delays from a crash that was a little earlier in Patterson on I-80 eastbound. And we'll bring that up too for you. They took the crashed vehicle out, but we still have emergency vehicles on the scene. This is at exit 60, which is Route 20 in Patterson. Look at that mess. Look at the mess of traffic. And that's a different camera shot they gave us, but they have emergency vehicles off to the right, just beyond where you see them making that turn around the bend in Patterson. And that's been going on for about an hour and a half. So if you're on I-80 headed eastbound, you'll see that that's going on. We have a crash now reported Jersey Turnpike inside the entry of interchange 8A. We showed you this a little earlier. It's right by the toll plaza. And it's just blocking a section of the toll plaza. It doesn't seem to be causing massive problems, but people are going around that, just to give you a heads up. Delays now on Route 21 southbound from Riverside Avenue to I-280 in Newark. All lanes are open, but it's about 5 to 10 miles an hour. And your other Hudson River approaches right now, we mentioned the Holland is about 35 minutes across. The Lincoln is 35, and your GWB upper and lower before was not moving. You could see it's moving a little now. A little bit better. They're still saying 35 minutes here. So we'll see. But it looks like the upper level on your right is much better than the lower level on your left. If you look at those stopped cars on the leftmost side of your screen, you see that that's the case. All right, so you know what? Let's do this 7 a.m. Let's re-rack and go to the top of 7 a.m. Pam, if you will. Excuse the technical talk, folks. It is 8:38 right now. We had a mysterious boom that rattled northern New Jersey on Sunday night. It is the second unexplained explosion-like sound in less than a week. Pequannock police received a number of calls. They couldn't figure out what the source was. The noise was heard as far away as West Milford. That's a good distance. Now, many of the authorities in the area, including the military authorities at Picatinny Arsenal, they ruled out military activity. They said, don't look at us, unless it was something they didn't want to share with us. There were no meteor sightings reported, so it's not a meteor of any kind that we know of. Last week's similar incident was in Hopatcong. It also remains unsolved, leaving residents and officials puzzled as investigations continue with no clear answers. This sort of feels like, think back to November, Pam. You know what I'm talking about? What was in November? Drones, right? This feels like the drones. Now we have booms. I think somebody is ordering a lot of Taco Bell. They'd make fun of me, Pam. She just said, "Oh my, stop it." So we'll find out. The two loud booms are connected to something food-wise. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with a good run at Taco Bell. I'm just saying. My favorite is the quesadilla. Try it. Or the pizza Mexamelt. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They call it the cheese Mexamelt. Just saying. Here, I just talked about don't go to fast food a couple of minutes ago. And I will say, once in a while, it's not a bad thing. Just letting you know. Okay. 8:40 is our time. And the Port Reading Fire Department responded to a boat fire. They heard that there were some people on board. Help them out. And they got out there fast. Marine 5 with FDNY Marine 8 and the FDNY Marine Battalion quickly got there and got that blaze out. Thankfully, all the victims were found safe on another boat. Thankfully, good people were there to help save those folks. Port Reading and Carteret fireboats also assisted as part of what is known as the New Jersey Regional Fireboat Task Force. Thank you for having that all set to go. Nobody got hurt. That's a good ending. We like that. In Ocean County, 6 individuals are facing charges after there was a big drug bust there. And this is going to boil your blood. We'll talk about this. And listen up. Authorities found 121 pounds of marijuana, 100 pounds of THC product, 75 pounds of cannabis concentrate, 7 sheets of LSD, 2 pounds of methamphetamine. Can you say Breaking Bad? 20 pounds of psilocybin mushrooms. That's for the shrooms to get a little hallucinogenic action going. 6 ounces of MDMA, 40 grams of coke, and $140,000 in cash. But there was nothing suspicious about any of that. This was all found in a residence in Manchester Township. The suspects were charged with a number of counts of possession and intent to distribute and conspiracy. But because the libs in New Jersey have New Jersey's bail reform, the idiots in Trenton that they are, everybody got released except for one person awaiting a court appearance. Now, why would you do that? If you truly are serious about fighting the drug scourge that we have, if you are not racist and you want to give everybody an even footing and not have people suffer from the plague of drug abuse and addiction, if you're really not racist, why would you allow these people to go free? Don't tell me if you're white liberals in the state of New Jersey, see, they say that they don't enforce the law because if they enforce the law, it would be racist. No, if you enforce the law, it is not racist. If you don't enforce the law and you have bail reform, you are being racist asses because what you're doing is allowing criminals to roam free. By the way, those criminals could very well be lily white, and they are the ones who are preying upon members of the minority community more so in the inner cities of New Jersey than the white community. Why are you letting that happen? Would you let your kids come home? Would you be happy if your kids came home addicted to drugs like this? So why do you let these people free on bail reform? There's a reason why we have the criminal justice system. By the way, for you people who don't understand on the left, there are 3 purposes for the criminal justice system. See, liberals love to say, well, reform doesn't work that way. Well, reform is not the only purpose for the criminal justice system in prison. There are 3 purposes. And this goes back thousands of years, but these people are too ignorant to read books, apparently. The 3 purposes are, number 1, punishment. That's why it's called the penal system. P-O-E-N-A comes from the Latin poena, which means punishment. That's the penal system. All right? So number 1, it's to punish. You sell drugs. You have intent to sell drugs. You kill somebody by selling drugs. You should be punished for it. That's why we have laws against it. Number two, it's to keep you apart from the rest of society so you can't do any more damage. That's number two. And then number three is rehabilitation. That's the third. It's not the only reason. It is the third of the three reasons. But these idiots on the left think, oh, it doesn't work by putting people in jail. You know what? Here's how it works. It works by keeping them away from my kid so my kid doesn't get hooked on the drugs that idiot is selling. That's why it works. So stop with your stupid bail reform because it clearly is a failure everywhere it's been tried. It was all about white liberal guilt. So stop it. Go back to what we had and you'll see crime drop. But Ken, crime has dropped. No, crime has not dropped. When you have liberal prosecutors who come in and refuse to prosecute 100 different levels of crime, of course it looks on paper that crime has dropped, but it hasn't. We're not stupid. As mom says, I may have been born at night, but not last night. We're not stupid. All you Soros-backed leftist prosecutors, I put in air quotes, you're not prosecuting. Do some prosecuting. That's what you're hired for. You have but one job, and you'll see crime truly drop. A New Jersey appeals court rejected a challenge to the state's school funding formula, ruling that Lakewood's public school issues stem from financial mismanagement, low taxes, and heavy spending on transportation and special ed for over 50,000 private school students. Okay, part of this, let's go back a little bit. Low taxes is not the problem. It's high spending, okay? It's not low taxes. And part of the reason why they have problems in Lakewood and every suburban school system in the state of New Jersey is because they tax the people in rural New Jersey to pay for the problems in the school systems in the big cities like Newark and Patterson, et cetera. If you look at how mismanaged the funds are in Trenton, the money gets sucked out of the North Caldwells and the Livingstons and the all the suburban areas. Their schools suffer. They have to do more with less. And then they pump in $30,000 to $40,000 per student for schools like in Newark, and half the kids end up, less than half end up graduating. So the problem is that they mismanage it at the state level, and they take all that money and dump it into the big cities, and they don't spend it in places like Lakewood. Now, I know Lakewood has a big Orthodox Jewish population, and under the law, because the state requires that kids go to school, they're allowed to have religious education because we have something called freedom of religion, folks. So if they want to go to a shul, if they want to go to a place and study the Torah as part of their education, they have every right to. And by the way, that means that the state has to provide for them buses to get them to and from their private school. That's the law. You don't like it? Tough. That doesn't mean, see, the Democrats are trying to shame the conservatives who live in Lakewood for saying it's low taxes are the problem. No, it's not. Stop stealing the money from the people who live in Lakewood and giving it to the people who live in Newark, and you won't have the problem. Problem is the tax base is so low in Newark, they don't have the money. So they suck it out of the pockets of the people who live in the suburbs. You fix that problem, and there won't be an issue in Lakewood. And then, history was made at Newark's Cathedral Basilica of the Sacred Heart. In a landmark ceremony, Bishop Pedro Bismarck Chao became the first Nicaraguan-born bishop in U.S. history. So those who don't realize, Nicaragua, I became a priest, and I actually had missionary work I did in Nicaragua and El Salvador after Hurricane Mitch. The population there's a lot of Asian population. There's a lot of Chinese and Japanese in Nicaragua, and I'm not sure which Bishop Chao is, but he's Bismarck Chao, so there might be German and Asian in his bloodline, and he's from Nicaragua. Fascinating. So he speaks fluent Spanish, perfect for our Archdiocese of Newark. Beautiful to see. A bishop consecration is one of the most beautiful ceremonies. It gives me chills. So they had. I remember those days. I've been to many ordinations. They had clergy from all over the country because it is rare in the Catholic Church for a bishop to be consecrated. And it takes 3 bishops because 2 act as witnesses to make sure mistakes aren't made. And then the consecrating bishop in the middle, the Archbishop of Newark, Cardinal Tobin, doing the beautiful ceremony. What a gorgeous ceremony. You could check it out online if you want to see this. And you can go to the website. By the way, he speaks 3 languages, English, Spanish, and American Sign. How cool. So it is, if you want to check it out, you can go to rcan.org, rcan.org. It is 8:48, and our bishop, okay, he's a meteorologist. We'll call him our bishop. Meteorologist Mike Favetta. He's going to tell us about beautiful weather today, but not so much tomorrow. Mike, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you. Yeah, I don't know. How do I react to that, Bishop?
Well,
Um,
I've been listen, I speak as a priest. They don't
sure.
unpriest you, even if you no longer function as a priest. So I've been president many an ordination, and a bishop's consecration. They call it a consecration because it's the third level. Bishops are consecrated, priests are ordained, deacons are made. So that's
Oh,
officially, generically, we call them all ordinations, but technically a bishop is consecrated
oh,
because you have the
wow.
fullness of the apostolic succession in Christ. There we go. The good Catholics will understand what I'm talking about. Right now, Pam is
Amazing.
saying she's a Pentecostal. She's saying, "Oh, you Catholics, you and your terms." Uh,
Hey, 13 years of Catholic school, and I didn't even know that. So thank you,
See that?
thank you for the lesson.
A
Right?
little religious head on your
So much
Tuesday morning.
theology, so much theology, and yet still learning. So thank you for sharing that. Hey, we've got some amazing weather on the way for today. A little bit of a blessing from the sunshine later on this afternoon as temperatures warm into the mid 70s. It'll feel very pleasant, even down toward Jersey City and Newark. Plenty of sunshine, taking us into the end of the day. The drought remains, and we probably won't see an improvement to this, even though we had a little bit of rain over the weekend. Our rainfall deficit still remains quite high, especially in northern New Jersey, where we're running anywhere from 1 to 2 inches below average for the last month there in the northern sections of the state. The tropics are nice and quiet, even though we've hit the statistical peak, if I can learn to speak, statistical peak throughout this week of the Atlantic hurricane season, but no named storms or none in formation at the moment. We're dry across and warm across the Midwest and staying dry there. But here in New Jersey, I think we'll see a little bit more of a wetter finish to the day tomorrow. So the precipitation chances are up, not just tomorrow, but even in the coming weeks ahead. 80 degrees by Thursday. That'll clear out the clouds and showers by the end of the week. And the humidity remains with the sunshine throughout Saturday and Sunday. A very pretty end of the week forecast into the weekend. Down the shore, a little bit milder after the rain tomorrow. And then I think with the overnight lows holding in the 60s, it'll feel a bit more muggy as we head into the end of the week. So higher humidity tomorrow, gusty winds at the coast with that rain, a very different scene when you wake up tomorrow morning. But nevertheless, we're back to sunshine on Thursday with warmer weather, Ken. So just a
Hey,
1 day rainy event, and then it turns brighter.
we need the rain. We need it. All right. Thank you so much, Mike. Have a wonderful day, sir.
You too.
You bet. It is 55 degrees now, northern New Jersey, 56 in Trenton. As younger generations rethink what it means to save and invest, a new trend is emerging. Bitcoin is quickly becoming the go-to asset for millennials and Gen Z. But while trust in digital currencies is growing, many still find crypto confusing or intimidating. Here to break it all down for us is Stephanie O'Connell, a well-known financial expert who's joining us with new research from Uphold on how different generations are approaching wealth building and why now might be the time to rethink your financial strategy. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, according to recent research, we're seeing that younger people, I mean, we know this in President Trump's son, or Barron is into this. They're
Mhm.
turning to Bitcoin instead of traditional savings. So why do you think that is? And should older generations wake up and start paying attention?
Well, for younger generations who are already digital natives, we grew up on our phones. It's not surprising that they're well adapted to this digital technology and these digital assets like Bitcoin. And the growth has been enormous over the course of the last decade as this generation has come of age. So, $1,000 invested in Bitcoin July 2015, 10 years later, it's worth almost $400,000. So, for younger people who are looking to achieve some sense of financial stability, financial freedom, they might not think they can get it through the traditional route. They don't necessarily have a pension waiting for them at the end of the rainbow. A lot of them may not even have access to a 401k. So, they're looking at these alternatives to try to build wealth of their own. As for what other generations can learn from them, I mean, there's a place for growth in all of our financial plans, especially in an inflationary environment. We want to preserve the purchasing power of our dollars. And so Bitcoin is an asset that can help anybody start to think about how they can do that.
There's a tool that's called Easy Bitcoin. What is that, and how does it make things easier for everyday folks to get started?
Well, a lot of people can feel really intimidated by the world of cryptocurrency or even investing in general. So, Easy Bitcoin launched to create a very streamlined process for getting started. It's a simple app that you can download on your phone called Easy Bitcoin, where you can buy Bitcoin, you can hold Bitcoin, you can even hold your US dollars, and the app will reward you for doing so with even more Bitcoin. In addition to that, it also lets you set up a recurring buy feature. This is a lot like when you have a 401k and you have a portion of every paycheck automatically deducted to contribute to your retirement accounts. This recurring buy feature automates the process of setting money aside, especially for those who feel intimidated or like they don't have enough to get started. This feature can help them build up their investments slowly over time.
And just to clarify for some folks, because I do invest in Bitcoin, by the way, and I'm going to
Mm.
download that app myself because that looks awesome. For those who don't understand, say, oh, this is a fad. Let me just explain. With inflation, if you have the US dollar, tomorrow the president can say, you know what? We're going to print another $100 trillion. And the money in your pocket is suddenly worth half or a third of what it was worth yesterday, because then you'll have inflation. Because in order to keep up, the guy over there is going to charge more for his product, which means you have to pay more for the product. That's inflation. That means your dollar, with you doing nothing but keeping it in your pocket, the dollar is suddenly worth a third or a half of what it was worth a few. We saw this with the inflation in the last 5 years. Okay, that's what happens with the US green because it's not backed by anything. Even with gold, tomorrow there could be a big find of gold in Alaska, and all of a sudden the quantity of gold in the system, now there's too much. So the amount of gold, the price goes down. Bitcoin will never have more than the number of coins issued. Do I have it right? So therefore you have to buy shares of the coins that exist, and that's it.
I think you're speaking to exactly what people are turning to Bitcoin for. They're looking to preserve their purchasing power and ideally grow their money as this inflation continues to happen. And so, what we really want to think about is that long term growth. A lot of people, when they invest in anything, they do understandably see the ups and downs of the market and they can feel very intimidated and very nervous. And that's why I say take the long term lens. Look at this asset growth over the course of the last 10 years. Now, with any investment, future performance is not guaranteed by past performance, but we have this proven performance that we can look at as we think about, okay, what is this going to do in the future? And as you said, this is something that provides a hedge against some other things that are happening in the economy. And if you're looking at a savings account that's paying 1% interest or even less than that, that money is losing its value over time as prices continue to go up. So it makes sense to diversify our portfolio with these other assets.
Yeah, even if you put, like you said, throw 1,000 in now. If you have
Mhm.
you make an extra 1,000, the holidays, whatever, put $1,000 into Bitcoin now and wait 5 years and see. And you will call me and say, thank you for saying it. That's exactly what I did. I only put $1,000 in about 7 years ago. I don't have to tell you what that $1,000 is right now. And by the way, it does go up and down. You might have seven
Yes.
months where it's down, then all of a sudden it comes up. It's over time. You have, just like any investment, you just leave it alone, plant it like a seed and leave it, and you'll see what happens. So talk about some of the myths and misconceptions that people have about Bitcoin.
Well, I think to your point is this idea that you need so much money to get started. In a recent survey, it was found that Americans said they would invest a $10,000 windfall in Bitcoin. And that's great, but it really just speaks to this idea that people think they need $10,000 to start. And with the Easy Bitcoin app, you can start with $10. You can set up a recurring buy feature. So you're investing $10 every week or every month, and you can change that amount over time as you want. But the idea is to get into the habit, especially for those who maybe feel nervous or feel like they can't afford to. It's important that the habit is established, and that at the beginning is more important than the amount itself. Because again, we're taking this long term view and we're building wealth for that long term.
And we only have about a minute left in the total show, so I just want to give you that heads up. But there was the Uphold survey. What did we learn from Uphold in this research?
Well, in the research, they found that 88% of Americans trust Bitcoin to grow their money over the long term. So what we're seeing here is Bitcoin has really entered into the mainstream in a real fashion. A lot of respondents, 39%, ranked Bitcoin as one of their top 3 investments to hold. That was above gold and just under real estate. So this is definitely an asset that's seeing more and more and more demand. And so I
And
think what is
I gotta
surprising
cut, I
maybe
gotta
to
cut you off, Stephanie, because we're literally end of show, but it's
understood.
easybitcoin.app, easybitcoin.app. It's on the screen. Stephanie, we got to have you back. You're great. Financial expert Stephanie O'Connell, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank
I'm
you
going
for
to check it
having
out.
me.
I'm getting the app today. I'm doing it myself. Have a great one. And thanks for
Have a good
watching
one.
on New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. We'll see you again tomorrow morning starting at 7 a.m. Enjoy your day, folks. Good having you on today.